In my last video, I talked about why parenting can feel harder for neurodivergent families. Not because kids are unwilling, but because capacity, regulation, and executive function all play a role. So in this video, I want to walk through some very common parenting advice. It sounds helpful and often truly comes from a good place. It doesn't always work for neurodivergent families. Each one I'll share why it sounds reasonable, why it can break down, and a more helpful way to think about it. I'm not giving full solutions, just a different lens. Okay.
Raising neurodivergent kids is messy, beautiful, and a lot. I'm Mary Ellen Yates, and this is Growing Together, Neurodiversity at Home. Let's figure it out together.
Okay, let's get started. Just be consistent. Consistency is very important for kids, especially neurodivergent kiddos. There's no argument there. Structure and predictability matter. But when people are giving this advice, they are assuming that neurodivergent parents are not already being consistent. In my experience, parents of neurodivergent kids are usually very well disciplined, way more than they had to be before they had kids, because they do realize that structure matters. The issue here is that being consistent doesn't always lead to the same outcome. Regulation, energy, sensory input, sleep, medication, all of these affect behavior. Consistency with neurodivergent kids is about being consistent and predictable about how you respond, not demanding identical behavior every time. Let natural consequences teach them. Natural consequences can be a great teacher, and it's definitely way less punitive than punishment-based consequences. The thing is, this advice assumes that kids already have the skills to connect cause and effect, adjust behavior accordingly. For many neurodivergent kids, it's like assuming that they can just swim, when in reality, they may just sink. And at some point, you have to ask, when does this become unsafe or unfair? So instead, natural consequences can work when kids already have those skills in place. And let's not use that to replace teaching and supporting our kiddos, because that needs to happen first before we allow natural consequences. If they wanted to, they would. That can be true. That can be true for adults and children that are self-aware. But want does not equal action. Plenty of people do not do things because of fear, lack of skills, or overwhelm. Many neurodivergent kids are behind in executive functioning skills or struggle to identify what their body is even telling them. For example, when kids won't eat even when they're hungry. Motivation isn't the problem. It's to skills and support usually is. Let's make it a rule. Rules are a good starting point. Kids do need clear expectations and boundaries. But this advice assumes that once the kid has the rule, that equals actually doing it and following it. Most parents that have an issue with a behavior already have a rule in place. The issue is that following that rule can genuinely be hard. Kids may forget, they may struggle with impulse control, need visuals, or just live very, very much in the moment. The thing is, rules do not replace regulation and executive function. They need support for those to work. You're giving too many accommodations. People worry that accommodations may hold their kids back. This is often said because other kids don't need this support. But the thing about accommodations is that they're used to help someone reach a goal, not to avoid one. We wouldn't tell a child in a wheelchair to not use it because other kids don't need one. We need to meet kids where they actually are at, adjust supports as they grow, and worry less about the number of supports they have, and worry more about helping them grow. They need to learn how the real world works. The world can be hard, and people want their kids to be prepared. I know I do. This often comes from someone that has survived something difficult. Surviving isn't the same as thriving. Every hard experience is a helpful one. So instead, let's just keep working on supporting skills that they can use later. Supporting skills does not prevent growth. Kids need firm boundaries. Boundaries are important for sure. In my experience, when this advice is given, it's often with the assumption that the parent is permissive and passive and not providing those clear boundaries. Neurodivergent kids do well with clear expectations. They may also need input to reduce power struggles. So instead, we can decide on what is non-negotiable, and then we can be flexible about the rest. They're being manipulative. People can be manipulative. But also, let's not confuse advocating for needs the same as being manipulative. In general, the world isn't built for neurodivergent people. So self-advocacy is often necessary. Instead of asking, are they being manipulative? Let's ask instead, is this a reasonable request? They'll grow out of it. Many struggles do look differently as kids grow. But neurodivergence is a brain difference. We don't outgrow biology. What changes is our coping skills, support, and our choices. Growth comes from support and skill building, not from waiting it out. You're being too soft. People often mean when they say this that you're being permissive or inconsistent. Unless someone lives in your home, they do not see the full picture. Different does not mean wrong. Compassion and structure can exist at the same time. Truly, most of this advice is not meant to be malicious. Many people have good intentions and may see a parent struggle, but the advice isn't complete. When you parent based on capacity and not behavior alone, the lens changes. If this perspective resonates, I talk more about this approach and what it looks like in daily life on my channel. If you're new here, you can start with my earlier video that explains this framework in more depth. And I'm Mary Ellen Yates, and this is Growing Together, Neurodiversity at Home.